If you let your guard down, baby, this is what I'll do. I'll do. Come on, baby. Love you, I will love you, I will love you like a queen. I will undertake you to a place you've never been. Love you, I will love.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, gods and goddesses, and all of those other down home terms of greetings that we could greet each other with. I am Debra Faye. This is the Debra Show. And today, let me just say this. Let me put this plug in there. I met this young man. The very first time I saw him was at Dope Poetry. Shout out to Dope Poetry, Mark Gibbons, Ice Event Center, because it has been the hubbub for the blueprint of jumping off all types of poetic venues. And I met my special guest today, who is Cordney B McClain MBA. And I saw him perform, and that was when you were just now you were coming into, the feel of it. Is it what you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. I remember the one you did was where you did like a little Negro jig.
Oh man, you know what? That was nigger rich.
Hey, see, and when you did that little Negro jig, I was like, oh, we got a live one here. Without further delay, I appreciate everyone that can join us today. I want to give a shout out to all of the dope poets. I want to give a shout out to Poetic City. I'm repping today. Let me just plug.
Yeah.
I'm repping poetic greatness. See, I got it on, girl. Black woman.
Yeah.
I thank my goddesses and my queens for
shout out Miss Sharita Renee.
Yes, Sharita Renee. I've got all three of her books now. And I'm repping, of course, back to my roots, Lakeitha Dukes. And without further ado, the man of steel.
Hey, see, you're gonna have me take on a new mantra.
That man of steel of Poetic City. Hi, Tavy. How you, Tavy? Tavy, don't get mad at me. Look at here. He truly is Master P.
Yeah, his whole mind frame. People sleeping on Tavy, man. What I told him was that he needs to brag a little more.
Yes.
He needs to brag a little more because all of the different things that he's doing with Poetic City, people are sleeping on. They don't understand the magnitude of what this man is doing with this organization full of about 30 different performers.
Look at here. We talking about our own empire.
Yes.
Huh? And
yes.
Sharita.
All he needs is a building right now.
That's all. Sharita is our very own What Would Cookie Do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, I never even thought about that. I'm gonna be on their head about that. Lucius and Cookie.
Being the female vice president of Poetic City. Oh no, when you see her, you see him, you see the great Master P, Mr. Tavy Bleak. I am Bleak. That he is so brilliant. He has really, it's an empire. And then what at the flip of the end of it, got that man of steel swooping in on you. What? Come on, Mac Woods, Cordney B McClain MB. Hey, tell us something, boy.
Well, my name is Cordney McClain. I go by Mac Woods. And the Mac Woods, honoring Kappa legend Lawrence Piney Woods Jones. Now, the story goes, with a noose around his neck and flames under his feet, he spoke words so powerful, so eloquent that the Ku Klux Klan released him and even funded his dream. And see that inspired me. To spit lucid, liquefied, lysergic acid with wordplay that makes Lucifer regret living a life of sin. See, it's like if Malcolm Little joined the nation, got released from jealous ex, seen the world's hell and turned back into red. See the parallel. Black kids' dreams get lost their own address.
Yes.
And they say a wise man once said nothing, so I close my mouth as tight as Big Mama's hugs and let my soul speak and spit eloquent reminders of your royalty. See, I push that product that'll leave you with scars, that good D, that deep, disgustingly devoted, defiant, disenslaving distinction of destiny from a dynamic, dope-ass determination. Let me run it back for you. That's a deep, disgustingly devoted, defiant, disenslaving distinction of destiny from a dynamic, dope-ass determination, though I'm not a rapper nor a drug dealer. See, I'm a thinker at large, who evolved from a latchkey kid from OKC that grew into a Souls of Black Folks monologue, meets the Dapper Dan Fall, win a catalog. Good afternoon, queens, kings, gods, goddesses. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Mac Woods, and the Mac is for man articulating change. Thank you for having me today, Miss Debra. It's my little intro.
You know, we are honored. We appreciate that. I love how, of course, you and for to just let everybody know right off the bat, Mr. McClain, Mac Woods, is going to elaborate on the realization of self and what you can do with it when you get it and when you got it. And you ain't got to, what do you say about being humble? Come on.
Fuck humble. and you know, and real quick, we can, if, you know, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up the flow of your show. Real quick, we can discuss fuck humble real quick.
Yes.
So humble in the mind frame of Christianity, right? And we don't want to talk about African Christianity because that's what a lot of Christians like to talk about. But we're not preaching African Christianity. We're preaching exactly what was in the book that was put on us that stimulated the structure of slavery. That's what your big mama taught you. That's what your mama taught you. And that's what you're currently practicing today. So I'm not too religious, but I am spiritual. I believe that all powerful being, God, is watching us and manifesting things in the works. So I believe, but I'm not too religious. So when I talk about fuck humble, it does come from the stimulated structure that the Bible has placed on us, that Black people, the diaspora that was enslaved, should be humble to our masters. So yeah, you can take it and you can flow the word however you want to, but I want to stick to what the dictionary says. The dictionary says to be humble, to think less than of yourself, to be super modest. Modest don't pay the bills.
Nope.
Humble, if you are humble, most of the time you're quiet, you're meek, you're modest, and those type of adjectives, those characteristics, that doesn't give props or respect to anybody that we respected in the past. They like to say Malcolm X or Martin Luther King or Gandhi. None of these people were modest or meek. None of them thought less of themselves. So we put that adjective humble on a lot of our greats and our legends, when none of those adjectives from the dictionary or the Bible, none of those are characteristics of the people that we look up to. And humble, like I said, don't pay the bills. If you're at your job and you're super humble and being a person of color, you get looked over. You don't get the promotions. Humble can be replaced with gracious, honored, respectable, admirable. There's plenty of words in the Queen's dictionary, in the Queen's language. You don't have to say humble.
Yes.
So fuck humble.
Thank you.
You can keep it.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. And it is definitely not an interruption in the flow of our show today. I'm sharing my platform, the show, with you. So today it is our show.
I know.
And I'm deeply honored to be showing up with one of my many inverted mirrors, being a reflection of who I am, and everybody know. We just tell the truth. And so
right,
with what you just stated and brought out intentionally and deliberately, definitely goes along the path to the realization of self. And the one I took, it was not a humble path at all. I broke ties with my family. I was disowned because I stepped away from the family's religion. I've been labeled various things because I'm not religious. And I'll do you one better, Matt. I'm not even spiritual, because there are many spirits and we are to discern them. However, I am soulful. Okay. And everybody, I know we get into that discussion. Everybody ain't got a soul. We're not gonna go there. So I'm soulful, you know, and when we talk about the realization of self and you being a man who is articulating change, I was pointing out is that you are in the flow of where the conversation needs to go. Okay. And just go ahead and how come you didn't end up being religious and you turned being spiritual into being spiritual? And in terms of realization, how young were you? I mean, what happened? So basically, you know, I grew up in the church right off 23rd in a Baptist church. What was it about it's about 23rd in Rhode Island, and Baptist church, you know, Wednesday choir practice, Bible study. You know, my mom had me in church about 4 days, dang near feel like 4 days a week. Yeah. Well, but you know, once I got older, I started asking more questions. I'm asking questions like, everybody praises a God that looks like them except us. So when I wasn't even a teenager yet, and I just started putting things together. As a young child, I'm asking the pastor, where's the dinosaurs at in the Bible? And, you know, things, you know, even at a young age, just rebuttaling my questioning with just have faith as small as the mustard seed. Right. That wasn't good enough for me. Right. You're going to have to give me some more to work with, especially if you want me, a young person, a young inquisitive mind, to believe and to believe, have that faith of something unseen. You're gonna have to give me more than just mustard seed talk. So when that began to start kicking up, you know, I'm questioning more things. The pastor can't answer them for me, or he won't answer them. He just, you know, have faith. Don't question God. Have faith. So my issue is, how can I develop a relationship with this being that I can't question? Right. How do you have any type of real relationship with someone where you're afraid to ask questions? Right. To me, that doesn't make sense on earth, and it doesn't make sense in my mind at all. So, but you know, I started living more, and definitely my faith in this omnipotent being grew stronger and stronger the more that I start living. It's just my issue is how religion is placed on us to be holier than thou when you see the individuals running the church to be so devious, to be so devilish, the devil, to be so judgmental when the good book tells you to love, you know. So, but at the same time, the Lord is a jealous God as well. Yeah. So, you know, we don't want to go into how mean the Lord is in the Bible as well. You know, so it's just a lot of gray. Split personalities. It's a lot of gray that the pastors play into the church. And it's like, you need to give me more if you want me to be a young person that's just going to be all into the faith. And I just wasn't receiving that. So I never, you know, was getting anything close to atheism, because to me, I can't be that big on myself, have such ego where I can't believe in anything bigger than myself. I'm not that person. Right. So I could never be an atheist. I don't even understand that type of living. Like, how do you be so much into mankind and yourself that when you get down, when you get depressed, you don't have anything to pull up on? Right. And that's what God is for me. Right. You know, God is that
thank you, God, for blessing me. But oh, please, Lord, be there for me when I'm going through it.
Right.
He's, she is that much for me. So I couldn't even understand how an atheist, where do you draw motivation from? Where do you draw love when nobody else is giving you any? Where do you draw that inspiration when it seems so dark? So I have to believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hold on one
just the
second.
religious structure,
Yeah.
I can't get with.
Hold on one second. For my joining guests, I want to say welcome to you all, to my divine nephew, Mind Ascension, to my beautiful beloved matriarch Touch, to Mr. Cole, already mighty, who tapped in for just a quick second. He'll be in
So
and out.
what's
I want
up?
to remind my audience that whatever it is you're doing in your background, it will be on this video. It will not be cut out. So if you're going to step away from your camera or your phone, go ahead and just mute your video so that that won't be taping. And for those of you like my divine nephew who is out walking about, hello nephew, greetings.
Greeting.
It's such a pleasure to see you today. We don't mind the backdrop of you walking around being on the video. I'm just reminding everyone to be cognizant of what's going on as Mac, Man Articulating Change, is going over some things about realization of self and what you can do with it. Go ahead and continue, Mac.
So, so that's just my little spill on, religion and such. When it came to self-mastery though, I pray a lot.
Mhm.
I pray a lot, but the thing about my prayer is I pray that I can continue to execute, that I have that effervescent type of motivation and inspiration within myself where I can continue to execute. The thing about self-mastery, that I pick on the homie fellow King Popeye about when
Yeah.
he talks about self-mastery is that we have to have defined self-control within the self-mastery. Motivation, inspiration is fine, but a lot of times we're missing self-discipline.
Mhm.
And when we talk about self-control, we're talking about the ability to exert a strong will
Mhm.
against our impulses
Mhm.
to steer our future to one of our choosing.
Mhm.
So that means I understand where I want to go, and then I'm going to create the atmosphere. I'm going to make sure that I have a systematic execution plan of execution to go forward. So true self-mastery, it requires a vision of your future self. You have to be able to harness all of that will to realize your vision. And if you're just speaking about the concepts in a vague way,
Mhm.
then you yourself can't draw in to that harnessing that will to actually realize. And you act, like I said, you have to have a vision for your future self. So if you don't have a particular vision, then you can't write the structure down to even get there to execute because you don't have the vision. You don't have the vision, so you can't harness the will. It says statistically, 92% of people who set goals at the beginning of each year, they don't achieve it. They don't achieve them, right?
Right.
So the stat alone says so much about the state of our self-discipline. So when I talk a lot about self-mastery, I'm specifically talking about self-control and self-discipline because I know a lot of good talkers,
Mhm.
but they don't do shit.
Right.
so you can be a good talker, you can say, you can have all these elements of what self-mastery is and what self-actualization looks like, but if you yourself are not practicing it,
Mhm.
then I got to call fraud. I
Right.
got to call you on your bullshit.
Mhm.
So you have to have these things written down. You
Mhm.
have to have a plan of execution to at least keep yourself accountable. And that's one thing that I do. I make a list. I put dates by them. Then I make a list of the list to execute those minuscule things that help me achieve the bigger things. So if you're not writing down your goals and your ambitions and the tasks that's needed with a date beside it. See, I do a vision board. A lot of brothers make fun of vision boards. They act like it's just for women. I do a vision board every year. And my vision board has dates of execution for them. You know, one thing I pride myself on, I call myself an execution guide.
Yes.
And because it's a part of my personal growth, but like my thing on self-mastery is like, so the mind stretch, it never returns to its original dimension, right? So you got to continue to stretch your mind. That's that wheel. That's that harnessing the wheel. The difference between, in my opinion, the difference between high achievers and the rest is they spend more time fulfilling this need in the growth zone, that growth of self-mastery, of self-discipline, self-control. When I talk about being a execution guide or a productivity guide with increased levels of focus, that's harnessing that wheel, that's that self-confidence, that self-discipline, and the belief that you can make shit happen, then you become a productivity guide. You're doing things you never thought possible because you have eliminated the fear. And that's a big thing. A lot of people, they program their mind to be fearful. So you're in default to be fearful all the time. So when you think of a great idea that's to you too big to even, like, I can never be this person. I can never be an actor. I can never be in a feature film that was in downtown Harkins for a full month. I can never put out a book. I can never be on multiple stages and get paid that's about to air in a couple months because now I'm acting like these different things, and I could do all this while I still have a 9-to-5 working for OU as director of diversity and inclusion. So,
and you're still a wonderful husband,
and yeah,
you
they
are
don't
a
go
bum.
there.
You are a bum diggity do, super girl dad for life.
Yeah, and those grinds for 30 minutes, and then I attach dates to it. So that means, okay, by January 15th, I'm gonna have 2 chapters done. I have to have 2 chapters done by January 15th. By January 30th, I'm gonna have maybe 3 more done. So I'm checking off little smaller, detailed. We miss on a lot of accomplishments because we're not detailed enough. And I'm gonna speak directly to people of color. We will talk a great game, but then we won't put an execution plan together. We have to execute to break that fear. Once we start executing, it becomes a lifestyle. So now you are used to executing. You are used to being in a mode where I have an idea, I set a plan of execution, I write a script, I put into motion exactly what I want to do. I put dates by each task. And then now when I see it in full fruition, I'm used to executing now. I'm used to putting on shows now. I'm used to making sure I get a manuscript out and well before the deadline. I'm used to submitting different proposals for work. I'm used to showing up for work on time. I'm used to working different things while I have my babies right next to me.
Right.
I'm used to executing, and then it becomes a lifestyle where you are just subconsciously at a working mode all the time. Like right now, I know what I'm going to do at 4 o'clock. I know what I'm doing at 7 o'clock. I know what I'm doing at 10 o'clock. And I have it programmed already because I'm used to executing.
Would some of your military background have a lot to do with your ability to be an executionist as a guy?
Nah, because I got in the military late. I got in the military when I was 27. So at that point, I was already doing things. I was already doing things in the community. I had already had my master's degree for a few years. I was already operating at that level. I just jumped in the military to pay some student loans off.
Right.
So
smart move.
Yeah. So when it comes to being in the lifestyle of executing, you get used to it and it becomes a lifestyle because now you have that internalized self-fulfillment. So every day you're aching to feel that achievement.
Mhm.
That's growth. That's momentum.
Mhm.
A new level, a newfound level of productivity, and all of that is what we're all looking for. That's that source of extreme satisfaction. So
Mhm.
when I speak of being an execution guide, I'm talking about someone who comes up with the idea, processes it, writes it down, not just operating off of a whim. Actually, you write down each step that you need. You write down the resources that you need to take to execute, and you write down the specific dates to execute each task.
Mhm. So
And
now,
that,
but what advice would you give to somebody who don't have that much, who don't have the type of realization of who they are, where to begin? And I know you're giving formulas now. How important is it first to realize who you are? Now, this could be for anybody, but specifically for our people, when it comes to realizing who you are, period, against the backdrop of racism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and all of the obstacles and the challenges that you have to overcome, irregardless of your religious preference, blah, blah, dee, dee, blue to do, your sexual preference,
yeah,
do.
yeah.
What
Well,
part of that, when you realized who you were, had a lot to do with who you keep progressing and expanding to be?
so so when I was in corporate America, I was depressed.
Mhm.
You know, like currently, right now, I still got a white boss. I still have a boss that really doesn't understand, um, you know, the goals of diversity, equity, inclusion.
Mhm.
I work for an institution who's still trying to grasp on to understanding that people of color don't want to be there and they need to find a sense of belonging. So I'm still very much in that system. But when I was working for corporate America, where every single day was committed to tasks that I didn't care about,
Mhm.
I'm negotiating and closing $1 million, damn near $1 billion deals for aerospace, and did not care about it. It didn't give me any fulfillment.
Mhm.
So the first thing you have to do, if you have all these other issues and you can't like lock on to self motivation,
Mhm.
you got to find your why.
Mhm. Mhm.
People sleep on that and they think of it like kind of like in a. I think it's become cliche to
Mhm.
talk about your why.
Mhm.
You have to really find your why. So
Mhm.
I stayed in a job that I hated
Mhm.
because I had to pay bills.
Mhm.
I had to take care of my family and my kids.
Mhm.
Because if I was single with no kids, I probably would have just up and quit because I was that depressed and I hated going to work every single day. But
Mhm.
my why was my family. But sometimes your why needs to be a little self-centered.
Mhm.
Sometimes your why has to be selfish.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to step away from caring about everybody else. And what do they say? You won't have anything to give if you just give it all away.
Right.
You won't have anything to give yourself.
Mhm.
They what they say about selfless service.
Mhm.
Selfless service, they say you got two hands,
Mhm.
one to give and one to feed yourself. You
Mhm.
can't give both of them away.
Mhm.
So so in that sense, you have to find your why for you.
Mhm.
So my why was I have to love what I do every day. Now, yeah, it might be some rough days. It might be some days where I'm dealing with some bullshit. But for the most part, um, holistically, I love my job currently. Your own self motivation will start kicking in where you can identify your priorities to then be organized, to then become execution gods.
Mhm.
So if you don't find your why first, none of this other stuff about self mastery and self control, self discipline, all of that don't mean shit
Right.
because you don't have a purpose.
Right.
You got to find your purpose and your why first.
Right. And Mac, I do want to tell you, we are to the audience, we are experiencing a lot of technical difficulties. It keeps shutting down, but coming back. So if it appears that I've missed some things that you've said, I will figure out a way to include the transcript
Okay.
for this particular discussion today like I said, it keeps coming off, going off, but coming back on. So if we're missing any of your jewels, I want to make sure that I will definitely provide a transcript for those who has a notion to want to read,
Right.
everything that you've been stating.
No problem.
Because I definitely agree with you that you know, why did I decide to go on my journey of realization of self? Why I continue on this journey, realization of self, that alienates me oftentimes from a lot of people, family, friends, associates, events,
Yes.
so on and so forth, that I'm gonna die on this road of realization of self, and it can
Right.
become a very lonely road. However, I know my why.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you start digging into that, when you talk about lonely, it's because you have to weed out the people, the energy that you bring around you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but being alone doesn't mean you're lonely.
Right,
It just means you're
right.
alone for a little bit.
That's just a little bit. That's a little bit.
Yeah, just
Just,
you're reassessing the value of the energy that you place around yourself.
mm-hmm.
Because that, it bleeds on you. That bad energy, that stay in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
What is it, that meme, to stay lazy, to stay broke, to stay still, that still mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get away from that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes a little bit of loneliness comes with it, but you're just alone. You're not lonely. You just have to have the mindset that I gotta push some people away sometimes. I gotta push that bad energy away sometimes, so I can be focused. And sometimes you gotta put those blinders on. You gotta put those blinders on so you can go forth and continue the mission without everything else and other people, even your mama, sometimes your spouse, your friends that you grew up with, whoever is in your ear, and you need to stay focused. So sometimes you got to put the blinders on. Sometimes you have to be alone. Right. That's okay.
Yeah. Definitely, when you're talking about the realization of self and what you can do with it, requires alone time, requires the time where you don't even say, you don't speak. You say, when I remember when I first started on this journey, and right after my initiation into Fahami and Egyptian culture, part of my initiation was spending hours on end, not saying nothing, having conversation with no one for hours every single day, to retrain myself how to listen. See, so when some of us talk about being great listeners, there is a science to that.
Oh yeah. And I really appreciate you saying that with the listening concept, because I know some so-called educated people that it seems like they're never listening. They're just waiting to rebuttal. So they're never open to learn anything new. They're never open to any type of perspectives that doesn't look or sound just like theirs. They're always just sitting and waiting just to rebuttal. They're not listening. They're not taking it in. A question from D. Cole, I would like to check out. How do you pick particular visions that you aspire to achieve?
Great question.
For me, that's the why, D. Cole. That's the why. That always goes back to my why, because it's like, okay, so my why is, especially if you, and I'm very intentional with this. If you pay attention to my social media, you'll see family, fashion, poetry, acting, and fitness. So I kind of state 5 things. You really won't see too much out of that. So within my why, everything that I do is focused to those things. I really don't do too much. Even if you see all the activity that I do, it's really mainly the same things. It's just I'm active in all of them. So my why has affected all of my priorities. So if I do anything outside of my priorities, then it really had to be scheduled. It had to be scheduled way in advance. It had to be something. It had to be something that I was particularly like, okay, how does this either generate funds, generate profit, affect my brand? What benefit does it have for me if it's outside of my why? So if it doesn't have anything to do with those 5 things, for the most part, I probably don't spend too much time on it because I'm fueling my why, and my why is directly connected to my self motivation, which is my self motivation is connected to my priorities.
Mm-hmm. And I want to, he's not on screen anymore, but that is something, like you said, you have your 5 things that you do. When I met my divine nephew, Mind Ascension, I used to have all these different pages on Instagram, page for this, page for that, page. And I've since gotten rid of all of them. And now I only have the one. And so, like what you're saying, my nephew also pointed me in that direction and said, Auntie, you're going to have to, bring that in. You're going to have to, so that the people that become your followers or subscribers, they look at the, more or less, he was like, what it is you have as your heading when you say, I'm about this,
Yeah.
then that's all that people need to see coming from your page.
Right. And what's been so advantageous for me is that I post damn near everything that I do intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Some people be like, I don't post everything because people don't need to know all my business. But if you're trying to push your brand, if you're trying to push a business, you need to post because people need to feel like they are a part of your world,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
And what it also does is it lets other people know what you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So because I post about community outreach, about helping young Black men,
Mm-hmm.
about acting efforts, and wanting to be engaged in SAG and get my SAG certification and all that stuff, because I post those specific things, people are just, God been blessing me with this great network of people just been coming in my life and blessing me with opportunities because I let people know on social media what I'm interested in.
Right. And you just recently received an award. What is that, TAFA? Or is it just?
Yeah, so for the Teachers Appreciation Foundation, shout out to Kareem Muhammad, I got a certification for community outreach efforts signed by State Rep AJ Pittman, which was pretty dope. Kareem, he surprised us with that. But what was real dope about it was it had information on there of things I've been doing for the past 10 years.
Right.
So I don't know if they did some digging on me or what they did, but they had information on there of stuff I've been doing for like the past 10 years with community outreach, with Oklahoma City Police Department, with UCO's Black Male Initiative, with different conferences that I've served for and different boards that I've sat on, and it had that information in there. So it was just dope to be, given honored for the work that you've been putting in,
especially from the community at large, and all of that factors into what you can do with it when you have realization of self.
Yeah.
These are the types of things that if it's on your plate, and if it's one of your goals, your dreams, your passion, then all of this is what you can do with it when you realize. So Mac, touch on realizing. You say you got to have that why. You first got to know your why. Is that the biggest thing in realization of self?
So going back to the stats of 92% of people who set goals at the beginning of the year don't achieve them, right? That reveals that most people just can't stick to simple stuff to achieve them. So how is it that many people, that so many people fail to achieve what they really want? It's because nobody sets a goal around something they sincerely want. Like if you sincerely want to drop weight, right? A lot of New Year's resolutions is I'm going to go to the gym and drop weight. How much do you really care?
Right.
Because if you really, really cared, you wouldn't go out and buy 12 dozen donuts if you
Right.
really cared, if you really wanted. Because if you really want something,
Yeah.
you will make the change.
Yes.
Like, for instance, if you really want that man, if you really want that woman, you're gonna text them good morning every, you're gonna text them good morning, every day.
Yeah.
You're gonna maybe change up your habits of what you do in the evenings to accommodate their schedule. You will you will adjust things if you really, really want something. So that goes back to the why. Nobody sets a goal around something that they don't sincerely want. So you have to figure out what you want out of life. Me personally, I want to be my own independent consultant for diversity, equity, and inclusion to the point where I control my whole day-to-day operations. I don't want to clock in for anybody, but at the same time, I want to be a spoken word performer. I want to do movies. I want to be an actor. And let's say Hollywood called me, right? If I get that
Right.
Hollywood call, I'm going to continue to do work in diversity, equity, inclusion because I have a passion for it.
Right.
That's still one of my whys.
Right.
Another one of my whys is youth professional development. I can't even remember how long I've been doing youth professional development when it comes to helping people put together their resumes, their cover letters, teaching them how to interview, teaching them what to wear for the interview, teaching them how to follow up with a company following the interview. Like, I've been doing that damn near since I was before college.
Right.
So
Right.
that mentorship, that youth professional development, I've always had a love for that. So those are my whys. So I set my goals around my whys, and then I'm going to be sincere about carrying them out, because at the end of the day, those are the things that give me gratification. But you have to be organized. And if you're not organized, that shows you really don't give a damn about it, because you don't even put the effort into being organized to write it on paper. This is what I want to accomplish.
Okay.
What does it take to accomplish these things? Let
Right.
me put a date by when I need to accomplish them.
Right. Okay. So now I believe that this is coming from Donnell. How do you pick particular visions that you aspire to achieve? Okay. Would you address that? And then he has another one, and then Touch also, Sister Touch has, do you have everything that you said written down with dates?
Yes.
And this is Donnell. Your reality is governed by how you perceive yourself. By altering the concept of self, the consciousness in which is governed by also alters, for mind is matter and matter is mind. And then my divine nephew, mind ascension, many regurgitate and project what society deems success goals or achievements. The actual personal desire is not there. So the intention or sincerity does not exist.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. So these are some of the things that are being, that our guests are chiming in with. Go ahead and elaborate on that. And I want you to know we only have you for a few more minutes because he's so intentional.
Yeah, I got it.
He has another appointment right at 2:00.
Yeah, I got to run to 2:00. But like going back to the why is so important for me for self-mastery, because like I said, it's the self-discipline. So the cause that's the culprit. The cause is the culprit. So when the results we go after don't come fast enough, and we realize, what we're chasing seems like more of like a hassle than when we first imagined, then that's when the fear kicks in again, and we start second guessing ourselves. That's why a lot of people can't achieve their body goals, because they get into it thinking those results are going to be so fast. That's why a lot of these body transformation joints is like 90 days, because 90 days is a good amount of time where your body is reacting to the time that you're putting into it. So just like anything, you have to put the time into it, and you got to work it long enough to be able to see the fruits of your labor.
Yes.
But a lot of us, we jump into working out or eating right, and we don't even last the 90 days to start seeing the fruits of our labor. So And so as we continue to pursue our goals, we slowly begin making up our minds that the pain of consistent self-discipline is a cost that we aren't willing to pay. So that pain, it bests us. So we get away from our original cause. And that goes back to, is your why strong enough? Is your why strong enough? You know, we stop striving for our goal because the pain of consistent self-discipline starts kicking our ass.
And I want to add just a little side note that might be fun to think about, Mac, is that when you talk about that why, I'm getting ready to go down, I'm getting ready to go to the left, and live to the right, and then back to the middle. Okay, why? Listen at it. Let's listen at it metaphysically or spiritually or whatever connotation that you might want to use the term. Why? We don't hear W-H-Y. We hear why, the letter Y or the vowel Y. And Y metaphysically is a transformational vowel or rogue consonant, and it means to transform. It's fire. Okay, so just think about that. So when we have to, in realizing who you are and what you're gonna do with it after you realize that, that's that term, put that fire under that ass.
Yeah.
Why you do that? You know, you look at your children, you go, why you do that? Why? Because they doing stuff. They, you know, it's changing up the energy of things. So I just, you know, wanted to throw that
I dig that
into your concept, since you're articulating change. Yeah.
I dig that. And you know what? And I don't even get super heavy into like the metaphysical and stuff. Now I love hearing you speak on it. I love hearing Donnell speak on it. I literally don't get too deep into it. And I'm open for it. I just don't get too deep into it because when we talk about self-mastery, it's something I believe I've been doing since I was a teenager. From, you know, reading Robert Greene, reading The Alchemist, going into laws of power, going into just different readings, different researching. People say they research. Folks don't be researching. I'm talking about like literary reviews. I'm talking about actually reading manuscripts and then dissecting them. You know, it don't have to be essay form, but you actually have taking studied manuscripts, apply your knowledge onto them, and then dissect them in some type of rubric or something. That's research for me. Right. You know, me having a master's in business, I had to take business law and different things like that. I've studied philosophy, such and such. But when you say research, that's what I'm talking about. So when people say research shit, but you've only like watched YouTube videos or shit, or you call yourself a researcher, but you only read one book. So like that pushes me away from when certain people talk about metaphysical and stuff like that. But being able to tap into your self-actualization, I've been studying that for a long time. And one thing that has been very eye-opening for me is tapping into my motivations, my why, because that lets me know to the core of me what I want to achieve, and what my weaknesses are and what's stopping me from achieving those.
Okay. Mind Ascension says time can become a trap. Our expectations can create disappointments, which in turn create our justification to lose focus or desire. Consistency is always the major key over everything.
Right on.
And he's in New York.
Right on. And when you talk about consistency, it's so many people out here that's not consistent. Like for me, when you talk about let's say I was so consistent in community outreach, but when I come home, I suck at making time for my family and my wife. So you're inconsistent in the things that's really the most important. Yeah, helping your community is important, but what my loving wife, what my kids will have to say about me when I pass, that's most important. Exactly. You know, the community wavers, honestly.
Yes.
Community wavers, but your family, and it doesn't have to be blood. We know how that works. Your family don't have to be blood, but the community and the environment that you put yourself in, those waver and those change effervescently.
Yeah.
So you have to know what your support system is and what your support system thinks of you. And consistency plays a huge, immense role in that. So when it comes to being consistent, I make sure that that when it comes to physical fitness, when it comes to me checking up on my mentees, when it comes to anything like that, I am consistent with all of that. So if anybody goes around and asks maybe 5 different people on what they think about me, consistent will be an adjective that they use.
Yes. And the sister, she says, absolutely, consistency is key. Make up your mind before the mission that you will complete the mission. Execute. Let me see. And research, yes, research is everything. And then Mind Ascension says, why insinuates clarity and understanding, which leads to forms of self-accountability that changes our personal perception, that many times do not flatter our ego, causing us to reject many reasonings that fuel the why, that fuel the why and why. Goals versus purpose, ability versus function. And the sister says, and all of that should be in sync.
Right. No, I dig it.
Yes, we got 5 minutes. And quickly, Mac, because the time is ticking. We may have to do a part 2 to this with you, so that because sometimes when we're on these talk shows or doing the da, there's only so much information you can get within that time frame, versus technology showing out and showing up and doing all this craziness. At some point, the Debra Show would love to get you to come back and that's later on, do a part 2. I see another sister that has just joined in. It looks like, is that Monica? Is that Miss Sister Braggs?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. See, she's
what's up, Mo?
Yeah,
I know that.
she's just now tuning in. And sis, today we could only have the amazing Mac Woods, man articulating change.
You gonna give me the amazing?
Amazing. Look here, fly. He's the man of steel. He's the man of
okay.
poetic.
But
you killed it, bro.
We got 4 minutes.
Before I go, the intro don't count. So,
no, the intro don't count. I want you to wrap it up, Mac. Your last words to encouraging words to those who are journeying this realization of self, and the many wonderful things that after you discover who you are, what you can do with it. Wrap it up, sum it up, and then take us on out of here with some of that poetry.
So, Mac, who is you? I hate hearing that question. I struggle with that shit for a long time, to really understand not just what you do, what your hobbies are, what your interests are, the name your mama gave you, but to realize your uniqueness, to express your feelings truthfully, rather than just reflect what you or believe others want you to do or say, the process of true actualization. So not who is you, but who am I? Well, my name is Cordney McClain, better known as Mac Woods, but I'm a boy trapped inside of a man afraid of failure and change. Fighting to venture the ocean, holding on to too many wrong ways, drowning under too many strong waves of this double consciousness. Fighting aids of rescue that my mama had envisioned for me, because I had to give an Easter speech every spring, sat in the front pew every Sunday, choir practice every Wednesday. At age 5, Lord's Prayer memorized, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. While I anchored my faith because I felt God left me in deep waters, the audacity when mamas have not seen a single sunrise since their son went to the store real quick and fit the description. I am a heathen though. Thought I believed in God. Maybe he didn't believe in me, but I pray a lot. The Lord knows my heart. I pray he does. And I'm a son. I'm a son afraid of disappointment, so I never ask for much like my father's presence. But now I am a father that stays up in the darkness, rechecking locks, tucking them in for the third time. Okay, once more. Okay, once more. Okay, once more. Sometimes just standing and staring by the door. My baby asked me, Daddy, how you learn how to be such a good daddy? I held her face in my hands, hoping to carry any doubt of hers away, and told her, it came easy, baby, when I'm just giving you everything I never had. So I gave her something my dad never gave me and hugged her so tight. I am also a product of pain, but I learned that it's two types. One hurts you and the other changes you. Familiar with the first and still trying to figure out the latter. The result of suffering often is God's ties without the offering. It's when you can distinguish your soul down without the coffin.
Hold on.
I am a hater of horology.
Hold on.
That's time.
Mo. Mute your mic.
I'm a hater of horology. That's time. Mad at God because he wouldn't bless me with a DeLorean. And in the same sentiment, I knew why Doc didn't let me drive because I damn sure would have fucked up my blessings if I saw them ahead of time. I am also heartbroken. Yeah. Still healing from things I don't speak about. See, we're so much alike. But I am cool. I am black cool prescribed. Coping mechanism just to be so fly. I used to rush home to take off my good clothes and fear I would mess them up and my mama would beat my ass. Now I live in my church clothes. Searching for a suit that will somehow close casket my ugly truths. Pockets square to white regrets. Time for a suit, Oxford shoes. Vest is vintage. A Nordstrom noose, tie. To double Windsor up all my mistakes. Tall, dark, and handsomely tailored with self-doubt. So made to fit. Still window shopping for my expensive taste because none of us can afford more time. Yet we still live so ugly. Making sure our funerals are so beautiful. The irony of being overdressed. Because I'm also insecure. Makes me hate people I don't even know, like the man in the mirror. Yeah. I am what America's terrorists look like. An educated black man who knows who he is. They want me hunched over and I prosecute that posture. Fuck humble, you can keep it. Shit. I am two male versions of Keisha. Remember Keisha? A double scoop of sexy motherfucker looking like two moonlit masterpieces to never let a man-made method get too close to destroy me. This dark man X got a nasty Escobar belly full of talented tints. I am the darker brother. Yeah. And look at me. Yeah. Massa, a prime cotton picker. No better old than a whole plantation. Better by me. I'd be a good servant, Massa, until I find it necessary to climb myself down from the whipping post. So yes, I am yet and still my ancestors' wildest dreams. I am my favorite books and songs, composed into a compilation of a native sun on the post of the morning, layered in the message of the coldest winter ever. Look into my eyes and become well-read with a profound ear. I am my mama's eggs over easy. Cheese, toast, grits, fried taters, and onions with the sauce a little burnt around the edges, humming to when doves cry on a Saturday morning cleanup. I am all these things, and therefore alchemy exists. So that everyone will search for their own treasure, find it, and then want to be better than they were in their former life. To do so, you must know who you are. So, who are you? Matt.
Thank you, and thank you, man articulating change Woods. Mac, man of steel, Woods. This is,
I appreciate you.
Before you go, you know what you got to do. You know, you got to say, be different and love it.
Be different and love it.
Thank you. And everybody, Mac, before you go, I got to do my thing. Takes more than a notion when we talk about the motion of love. I'm going to send everybody.
Right on.
Love, baby. I'm telling
right on. Thank you, Goddess. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody that's tapping in.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you. I'll see you soon round about the city, I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am.
You to those of you who did chime in from New York, Mine Ascension. We got already mighty Mr. Donnell Cole. We have the beloved matriarch Touch, and Mo. Thank you for coming in for a second, Mo.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me.
Yes. Max, it's time for you to get
Yes,
on
ma'am.
to the next appointment. We're signing
Thank you.
off. Peace.
Y'all be blessed. Peace.
Thank you, everyone.